What's, yeah, well, it's stealing. My mother, I remember I told you before, I took a little toy from down the neighbor's couple doors down the sidewalk. I just brought it home. I didn't know if I was stealing it. I was just going to play with it at least. And my mother said, "Where did you get that?" And I said, "Down the street." And she grabbed me by my earlobe and pulled me down the street and said, "You tell me where you got that." And I come to them, I said, "I got it right there." She said, "You drop it, and don't you ever touch it again." And she took her hand off my earlobe, but I thought I was going to lose my ear on the way. But if I was, you train your children that you don't touch things that don't belong to you. In this church, there's things all over this church. And people leave their coats and hats and things, and inside their pocket is their car keys. People steal. People steal from the church, man. Take all sorts of stuff. And you have to have some kind of grit. You'd have to have some kind of gall to be able to do such a dirty thing. But when he talks in our text about stealing from your father and your mother, now, I'm not trying to be smart with you, but I'm telling you the truth. Probably some of you here in this room stole some money recently from your Father in heaven. When you didn't put your tithe in the offering plate, it does not belong to you. It belongs to God. And you didn't put your tithe in. You stole money from your Father. Amen. Am I telling the truth?
Amen.
I'm concerned about people that have no restraint. You know, I'm concerned about young people that make money that don't tithe because they think they got to have every penny of it. But you need to give God 1/10 of your money, no matter whatever you might think. It kind of a sort of a weirdo trend that people have got this kleptomatic idea that they can take whatever they want, walk into a store and put things in their pocket. Well, you're just welcoming trouble into your life, and people get involved with drugs and drink, and they have to steal in order to keep up their habit. It's a wicked thing, people, and especially when you steal from your own mother and dad, their character, their forthrightness, their goodness, and bring their testimony down because you are a crook. I can preach a little bit, but let's go to verse 25. He that is of a proud heart stirreth up strife, but he that putteth his trust in the Lord shall be made fat. We're talking about the proud, we're talking about the humble here. And we're talking about people that stir up strife, troublemakers. I wish I could flat out just talk to you, tell you the people in this church that are troublemakers. I know every one of them. I've been here 50 years. You know, somebody said, "We need a new pastor. A new broom would sweep clean," but the old broom knows where the dirt is. And I know where the dirt is in this church. I know the people. If there's trouble, I know where it started. Somebody's tongue, and I know whose tongue I could put my hand on it. Somebody called me not too long ago. Some mother was wrought because the young people were out in the mall. And this one man said, "Let's go to the theater," the young fellow. And I said, "I bet you I can tell you who it was." And I said, blankety blank, I told her the name. "How did you know?" "Well, I just know, I know the screwball that would take you to the movies. I know the screwball." And if you want to know who would think, I know, because I live here. I'm here all the time. I understand my people. But I say there are people that stir up strife, that are proud and rebellious people, ornery and ugly, and some of them even demonic, that I wish I had about an hour on each one of these verses I could tell you about he that putteth his trust in the Lord shall be made fat. You can see how fat I am. But that's not what it means. It simply means prosperous, spiritually fat, spiritually healthy. I've got a lot to say, but I'm not going to say it, okay? Not that it's really isn't that all important about maintaining your testimony. I'm going to go to verse 20. Maybe I'll just say this much more about verse 25, that I call these people wave makers. These people, are you listening? These people are like people that load the gun and they fix it up so somebody else can pull the trigger. And so this guy looks guilty, but it's this jerk that loaded the gun to fix it all up. And somebody say, I don't like the way the pastor did that, do you? What's she going to say? Well, no. Oh, you agree with me then. That's the way it goes. Or here's a good slick way of doing it. You know, I know that Joanne or George or Mary have been, I want to pray about something. I want to tell you about it. Pray about it. Then you gossip. You're just, we're just going to pray about it. You're a gossip is what you are. You're a low-down gossip. Good preaching, Brother Green. Anyway, it's something that everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. And God resisted the proud. Oh my, oh my. I'm not going to touch that. If I do, I'll get into something else. Let's go to verse 26. He that trusteth in his own heart is a fool. But whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered. He that trusteth in his own heart is a fool. The reason that he is a fool, in that he's trusting in himself, in his own heart. Jeremiah 17:9 is a key verse in the Bible. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked, and who can know it? There's a story in the Bible about a man named Hazael. He was a king. And Elisha had come to Damascus, Syria, and Ben-Hadad, who was the king of Syria, was sick. And he told Hazael, I understand that Elisha the prophet is here in town. Would you go and ask him if I'm going to get well or not? And so he said, take a present with you and meet the man of God and ask him. So he took the present and he asked Elijah. Elisha said, is the king going to recover? Oh, he said, yes, he's going to recover. And Elisha started crying. And Hazael said, why are you crying? Because I know the evil that thou wilt do unto the children of Israel. How that you'll set on fire the strongholds. You'll slay the young men. You'll dash their children before they're born and kill the babies. Rip up the mothers. And Hazael said, what is thy servant? A dog, that I should do such a thing as that? He said, yes. You're going to be king. I told you that Ben-Hadad was going to live, but you're going to kill him. and you're going to become king. And sure enough, that king lay there sick on that. He took a cloth, a heavy cloth like like terry cloth, I suppose, and got it soaking wet and covered his face with it so he couldn't breathe. And King Ben-Hadad died. And Hazael became king. Just like Elisha said. I'm saying, you talk about deceit. You talk about being crooked as a dog's hind leg. That's crookedness. There's story after story told in the Bible. Right after they had been captured by King of Nebuchadnezzar had come in, there are people left around Jerusalem, poor people, and they decided they were so afraid of living there under those Chaldeans that they decided that they'd like to go to Egypt. And they asked Jeremiah, would it be the right thing? Oh, he said, don't go to Egypt. Well, he said, would you ask the Lord and pray to the Lord about it? And whatever the Lord says, that's what we're going to do. Well, they asked the Lord said, don't go, and yet they said, well, we're going to go anyway. No matter what the Lord said, no matter what Jeremiah said, they're going to do what they want to do. He said, if you go down to Egypt, you're going to die, and you're going to become servants. There's going to be a famine, pestilence, and there will be no way for you to escape. But they went rebelliously. I had a lady in our church, this has been at least 25 years. And they decided they're going to move to Florida. And I said, don't go to Florida. Don't move. Stay right here. Brother Green, we're going to go to Florida. Just as soon as we sell our house, we're going to go. All right, I began praying, now, Lord, don't let them sell their house. I prayed for days, and one day she smartened up. She said, are you praying against us selling our house? And I said, I am. She said, would you stop? I said, I will, if you want me to. I stopped, and then within the next week, they sold the house. And they moved to Florida. They hadn't got down there hardly at all, and her husband died. Well, his brother followed them down there, his wife and boy, they followed them down there too. And they got down there, that their son, that boy's, would be their nephew, got killed in a motorcycle accident. How much better they'd have been off if they just stayed right here in Michigan and let the pastor pray, don't sell a house, don't sell a house, don't let them sell a house, Lord. Well, it's your life. You can be as rebellious as you want to, and most people are going to do it no matter whatever. Anyway, our text said, he that trusteth in his own heart is a fool. Whomsoever walketh wisely shall be delivered. Just learn from other people's mistakes. Attain some wise counsel, and really appreciate your life when God corrects you, and receive instructions, and walk with people that are wise. Obey the law of the Lord. I think I got two more verses. I want to get them both if I can. He that giveth unto the poor shall not lack, but he that hideth his eyes shall have money, or shall have many. I knew what that said, why I said I don't know. He that giveth unto the poor shall not lack, but he that hideth his eyes shall have many a curse. A real kind of a sure guarantee that you're not going to have money enough, you'll have lack in your life. There's something supernatural about the law of mathematics with God. He said in Proverbs 11:24, there is that scattereth and yet increaseth, and there is that withholdeth more than is meet, but it tendeth to poverty. Jesus said, give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall men give into your bosom. For with the same measure that you might, withal it shall be measured to you again. He said that I'll give into your bosom. It's sort of a figure of speech about the bosom, but a lot of those people in those days of the Lord wore long skirted things, and they wore kind of a belt made into a kind of like a girdle, they called it, and they'd tie it here in the midst, and they could put money, their valuables down in there, and they wouldn't fall out, and you could go about your work or about your business, and it would still be there in your bosom. Of course, the bosom has always been sort of like the inward life and the feelings. I feel in my bosom my love for God. It's my heart is there, but he's saying that if you give, it shall be given unto you. And this is what 2 Corinthians 9:6. But this I say, he that soweth sparingly shall reap sparingly, and he that soweth bountifully shall reap bountifully. I wish I could express myself in this supernatural law of mathematics of he that giveth unto the poor shall not lack. You give, and it shall be given unto you. You become a tightwad and hang on to your money and don't share it with the gospel or with the things of the Lord. The things are almost backwards. If you want to figure out God, you'd have to figure backwards, and it's hard for us to think back. We think ahead, but we don't think back. Like, if I really want to live for God, then I got to die. I got to die to myself in order to live. If I want to save my life from myself, then I lose it. But if I lose my life for the gospel's sake, I save it. It's going up against the thinking of our human minds. If I want to be forgiven, then I must forgive. And if I don't forgive, I will not be forgiven, Jesus said. He that wants to be filled has to be emptied. And if you want to be up, then you got to get down in humility. And if you want to get money, then give money. It's the way it is. We just recently built that building back there, and we had to have $350,000 before the contractor would even put a rig on the property to start building. And we raised $100,000, and we had $250,000 we needed. And I met with the deacons, and I said, I'd like to do this. I know a church that's struggling to build a building. Let's send them $1,500. And let's be like seed money for the money that we need here to build our building. And I'm telling you, within a week, we had the 350,000 in the bank. Now we gave in order that we might receive. I know a man that needed a press to run his track ministry. And he needed it, well, it was a computer type thing. And he went out and bought 30 electric typewriters and gave them to churches and schools, things that needed them in the Christian work. Gave the 30, he gave the 30 typewriters out, and I needed, I don't know what it was, $200,000 or $300,000, and within just a few days, he got all that money. He gave, and you get, and you plant seed, and then you get what you plant. It's a part of this thing, young people especially. If you can't get it straight, it's because you're a numbskull. It's God's supernatural law of mathematics. You give, and it shall be given. You plant, and you receive. You need money in your home, you need money for your school, you need money for whatever, you need things, then give, and it shall be given. That's God's, I don't know how it works, it just works. I'm not trying to be smart aleck, big shot Joe, but my wife and I give more money than any other family in this church to this church. Say, where do you get it? I get it out of my pocket and give it. We give more to missions. No, I'm not bragging, I'm just telling the truth. And all of our bills are paid over at the house. So how do you do it? You give, and it shall be given. You give, and it shall be given. And you keep on giving, and you keep on getting. Keep on giving, keep on getting. That's how you do it. Now we're talking about the Lord's work. If you ain't got enough mentality to understand that, I'm sorry. But you trusted the Lord, did you not, to get saved? Amen. Could you trust the Lord to tithe? Could you trust the Lord to give above your tithe? Could you trust the Lord to give over and above anything else? You just keep giving, 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 and God keeps giving, 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 giving. You keep giving, 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 giving. God keeps giving, 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 and you can't outgive God. He won't let you do it. Isn't that wonderful? Amen. I don't know if you got it or not, but I'm past my time. But I want to give this last verse, and I'm going to quit. When the wicked rise, men hide themselves, but when they perish, the righteous increase. I'll read it again. When the wicked rise, that is when wicked men come into power, men hide themselves, good men. And when they perish, the righteous increase. When the wicked are in power, the righteous sort of like to hide and lay low. When the righteous rule, then godliness and goodness and revival and those type things come. I've always liked Mr. Reagan when he was president. He did what was right. He was a conservative Republican, but he did what was right. He would gather pastors, men of God, in to ask counsel of them about what he should do. And God blessed him. When Reagan was in office, this country was blessed. We had Mr. Clinton came in, and he was a Democrat, of course, and his mind is socialistic and more or less humanistic and globalist and that kind of stuff. And I'm not trying to. I'm on the camera, and I understand that. I'm careful what I say, but it's a whole different ball game when there's wickedness and wrongdoing done. And I am not a liberal. I couldn't be one. It would be hard on me as a Christian, because Christians are not liberal in their political views at all. No. We believe in Christians' education. We're against abortion. We are believe in less and less government, not more and more government. We are kind of people who want to do on a conservative, let every man sit on his, well, like my mother used to say, let every tub sit on its own bottom, and everybody pay their bills, everybody take care of themselves, and not this government giveaway to everybody and everything. It's difficult for Christians. Now, I'm for helping people, and God knows there are people that are handicapped. When I understand that, and people say, I understand that, let's help them. But I mean, just these good-for-nothing scum bums that want to live off the government, I'm against that. And any Christian is against it because the Bible teaches that every man should work for their own living. And we're pro-American. We are, you know, you take anybody that's pro-American, you take like Pat Robinson or Jerry Falwell, and they're always slamming and slurring these guys. I'm not necessarily for those guys either, but I'm just saying that anybody that wants to stand up like Colonel North or something like that, he's terrible, is conservative. And we just associate ourselves with that kind of people, and we have no way of assisting homosexuals and pornography and immorality and all that kind of stuff. We're against that. And so the Baptists and other Protestant denominations, they're hated by that crowd of politicians that want to bring the whole world into that sort of a scheme. And we're for armament, and we're not for war, but we're to protect our country. You don't find good, godly people fighting, Mr. Bush on fighting over there in Iraq. We believe we ought to get in there and tear them up and get out of there and come back home. And if necessary, nuke them till their lights up and shoot them in the dark. That's why we just get them and get them go out of there and clean it up, whatever it takes. But anyway, as our text here says, when the wicked rise, men hide themselves. But when they perish, the righteous increase. When they're out of office, somebody that wants to do right. I despise all the apathy, all of the problems we're having with our social affairs, with Katrina down there in that Louisiana. It bothers me. I'm sorry that it happened. God knows we sent money down there to help those people as much as we could, but the people take advantage of the government. It bothers me when they think that the government for the next 10 years is going to have to pay a hotel bill or a motel bill to keep them going. That isn't right. We're conservative people, and we are allied with Christ and the Bible and the church and righteousness, and we're against Satan and world revolution and the New Age and witchcraft and this sort of thing. We're Christian people, and I could say when the wicked come into power, men that love God are going to hide, and when they perish off the scene, then the righteous increase, and righteousness itself increases, and a better form of government, of course, and a better life for all of us. Thank you. Well, I only have 3 more chapters to go. We're starting the 29th chapter today. We just got to this 29th chapter. We just got 2 to go, and we'll have it all conquered. We got 3 or 4 or 5 weeks to do it, so I believe we're going to conquer it by the help of God. But he that being awesome
often reproved, and hardeneth his neck, shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. It is a fact that has been established by history that God will not tolerate rebellion. You can see it in the antediluvians. Now, when I say antediluvian, I want the class, I know you're just students and maybe you don't know, but that's a word that is attached to the people who lived in Noah's day that drowned in the flood. They're called antediluvian. But these people were dealt with by God. The Bible teaches us that Noah preached, and it seems that he preached for 120 years. It wasn't just like it didn't, they didn't have a chance to repent. And I would think now, maybe I'm wrong, but I would think every sound of the hammer on that ark would be heard around about as a testimony of God's sure judgment. Do you think so? And these people rejected it, and he said, my spirit shall not always strive with man. He that being reproved and hardeneth his neck shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. I'm not really sure about the connotation of the hardening of the neck, unless it would kind of refer to an ox who would harden his neck against the yoke that the farmer would put on his neck to be able to plow and do his farming work with. And I would think perhaps I'm right about that. And just somebody that would not take God and wouldn't receive God and harden his neck. You remember the story in the Bible about Pharaoh of Egypt. Exodus 7:13, and he hardened Pharaoh's heart, that he hearkened not unto them as the Lord had said. In Exodus 8:15 it said that Pharaoh hardened his heart. Kind of a little play on words here, but it seems like Pharaoh kept hardening his heart, and then God hardened his heart. You keep fooling around with this business of rejecting, resisting, and grieving the Holy Ghost, and blaspheming the Holy Ghost. You can get to the place where your heart would be so hard that you would not ever come to a place of repentance, either being often reproved and hardeneth his neck, or stiffens his neck, or rebels against God, shall suddenly be destroyed. And you know the story of the antediluvians. They were suddenly destroyed. And Pharaoh, he was suddenly destroyed in the Red Sea when he went in after the Israelites, and God closed the waters upon the Red Sea. It was said about Israel as a nation that, if you remember how they turned their back on God, and the Lord said unto Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Exodus 33 and 9. And And also there in 33 and 5, he said, ye are a stiff-necked people, and I will come upon you in a moment. And it seems like, again, sudden judgment. Ahab and Jezebel, who resisted God, really, class, Jezebel was a woman who was a daughter of a king of Zidon. And Zidon was on the seacoast there in the Mediterranean. But when Ahab married her, she brought her idolatry into Israel. And of course it was just wicked. She was wicked, Ahab was wicked, and idolatry was so wicked, for it was blasphemy against God. And they hardened their hearts. And they were suddenly destroyed and without remedy. They were in battle, that is, Ahab was in battle, and somebody took a bow and arrow and shot it at a venture, whether he could hit Ahab or not, and he hit him. He had armor on, but it said that he hit him right where the joint of the harness was. You know, I have suspenders. These are not very good illustrations, but normal suspenders that have buttons on them, there's a little place down through here where, you know, it'd be a gap, and where he had his buckler strapped to him, his coat of armor and whatever, there was a buckle there, maybe a little gap hole, maybe not much more than that in his armor. But this arrow went and hit right in that spot where it was vulnerable, and he was hit by that arrow, and of course he was propped up in his chariot, but he bled to death. They brought him back to Samaria to bury him, and they washed that chariot out that had all that blood right there in the pool, and it was Naboth, you know, he had killed Naboth, and Elijah said, where his blood was shed, yours will be shed. And you know that story as well as I do, but Jezebel was also cast out of a second-story window. I guess it was maybe three-story, I don't know. But she splattered all over the ground, and those horses and people trod on her until when they found her to bury her, because she was a king's daughter, they found nothing but the palms of her hand and was it her skull? I'm not preaching, but I could preach. But he that being often reproved and hardened his neck shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. There are some things that are irrevocable, something that God will not put up with. We had a young man in our school years ago, and he got rebellious. And the rules, the problem with our school and the young people is rules. People don't like rules, but you can't conduct a school without rules, and you can't conduct a Christian school without rules and a handbook that hold up standards. Well, he rebelled against it. He went out and got drunk and got racing his car and hit a tree and killed himself. It was a sad thing, because you're just a young man. But when you turn against God, you get out from under the umbrella of God's protection, and you're in deep, serious trouble with the Lord. Hardeneth his heart like a bull that refuses to get into the harness and submit yourself to God. God is so gracious. He is so long-suffering. But God will not be mocked. Listen to me. Do you like to be mocked? Someone make fun of you. You can't take it. I can't. It just riles me up. Somebody make fun of me. But God's not going to be mocked neither. And it riles him up. And somebody's going to die. And it's not going to be God. God is so slow. To anger. I don't know how he could be so gracious with us. I'm saying me. How about you? He said in the Bible, I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but in Titus 3:10 it says that a heretic, if he rejects one or two times, God is giving him all the chances that he needs to take. And if God deals with you once or twice, he don't even have to deal with you once if he doesn't want to. He's a sovereign God, but he's long-suffering and patient. He doesn't afflict willingly, it said, nor grieve the children of men. Yet his patience runs out, and that's what we're talking about here. He'll plead with you, he'll strive with you, he'll warn you until your heart is fully set against him and rebellion. And I think the character building lesson in that verse is you'll be a hard head and stubborn and rebellious because God, he that being often reproved, God's been trying to get to you, often reproved and hardened his neck, I won't. Then you'll be suddenly destroyed without, you could run you to the hospital, but it'd be without remedy. Proverbs 29:2, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. When somebody is a king or a ruler or president of our country or whatever is leadership, and he's righteous and good, then there is kind of inspiring joy and confidence in that individual, especially when they're really interested in establishing a righteous government, a good government, with equity and with this stability, something that you could feel like when you get up in the morning that you're going to have something and it's not going to be taken away from you and destroyed. But when the wicked get into power, the righteous sort of, well, they mourn, it says here. They feel grieved over the leadership because it's so wicked. Wicked men will normally gather around them for counsel and guidance and whatever. Wicked men, because they're wicked. I think when Mr. Clinton went into office, his cabinet, he established his cabinet people that will work with him. If I remember, there was 12 or 13 homosexuals that were a part of his cabinet. Right away, my antenna went up because That's enough to get me in trouble right there, I guess, but when the righteous rule it, I think that you could say this, that symbolically, when there's a good man in our presidency, and there seems to be righteousness and equity and integrity and whatever, that's symbolic of what it would be like when Christ comes back and rules and reigns on the earth. It'll be righteousness. He'll rule in holiness. In fact, class, when he comes back to reign, the highway, the main highway that'll lead him to his government buildings will be called the highway of holiness. Think about that. We're coming back to reign with him, and there'll be great joy and gladness. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. It's sad. I mean, those poor people in Iraq that had Hussein for their leader, a butcher, a mean man, a murderous, wicked, immoral. I don't know, maybe that's the way that you have to lead those type of people. That's what he's claiming now, that that's the only way you could control them. But we see King Saul in the Bible, and he was a wicked man, and he gathered around him wicked people. David, when he reigned with authority and power, but in righteousness, and so did Solomon, at least in his beginning. And listen to me, I want to register this, and then I'm going to move on. Some of you are very young. It probably doesn't mean much to you who's president, or what kind of leadership or government we have. But when liberals and unrighteous people sit in authority, they make it hard on Christian schools. They make it hard on a lot of things that pertain to the church. And they do it because they hate God. They hate the church. But there are people like Michael Moore that would like to stomp out Christianity. The fact of the matter is, the whole New Age movement is against Christianity. They know that they can't put in their utopia that they want with Christian people, because we resist wrong, and we resist global government, international, world government. We're not for that because we know that it is not of God. We're waiting for the kingdom age when Christ will rule the world and so on. But even right now, when we have good leadership, things will go well, and if they don't have good leadership, it doesn't go well for Christianity. I want to emphasize we're all studying. My class here is studying and trying to develop their lives for Christian leadership in the work of the Lord. Everything rises and falls in leadership. Write that down if you forgot everything else I say tonight. Everything rises and falls in the leadership. And I'm going to say more about that in a few minutes in another verse, but that's basically what verse 2 is talking about. Verse 3, whoso loveth wisdom rejoiceth his father. But he that keepeth company with harlots spendeth his substance. Well, he's talking now, I say every verse just about changes the subject. And he's talking now about how when a son or a daughter love wisdom and love education, developing their minds, it brings the father a lot of joy to see somebody who cares about such thing and seek after wisdom and try to keep good company. That is, they want to develop their lives so they don't hang around people that are not inclined towards godliness and purity, and seek people who are Bible-believing people and who want to obey the laws of the land and show good judgment. If they're not wild and reckless child, boy, it makes a dad feel good or a mother feel good to have a child that they don't have just keep cranking down on them all the time. I know that all of us who have children know that every one of these children are different, and some need one kind of chastisement and somebody else needs another kind. They don't all respond to the same kind of treatment. But I'm just saying to you, a bad child will put to shame a parent. And that prodigal son, his dad, the prodigal's dad, father, went as far as he could to meet him when he came back, and kept looking for him a great way off. When he was not right, he was still looking for his son to come back. But it's a precious picture in the Bible of joy that fills a father's heart when his son does right. And I think that this prodigal in particular lived loose. He took money that was his inheritance, but he blew it. He chased women. So how do you know that, Brother Green? Well, it said he made company of harlots. He was fooling around with women and fooling around with other wicked devices and things and inventions and loose living, and spent everything he had. And you could see the heartache and the heartbreak of any mother or dad that has a son or a daughter that doesn't want to go to church and doesn't want to live right and wants to dance and flirt and drink and immoral and all. It's just beyond kids. It's beyond your comprehension because you're not a parent. You'll understand when you become a parent. You'll understand a lot of things you don't understand now, but you can never understand it until you have a child of your own. Then you say, I can see what my mother and dad had to put up with me. You don't understand it. You don't even see the good that they do for you. But this boy, this prodigal the Bible said he kept company with harlots. And I don't know where you young people are, and it doesn't look like any one of you are bad kids. Looks like you're all good kids. I'm not putting a halo on your head, but on the other side that Paul said, flee youthful lust. It makes a parent feel so good to have a child that's not lustful and dirty, filthy talking and sneaking pornography into the house or watching it somewhere else. It's just, there's a character building lesson here. It's really for all of us, parents and young people as well, but it's a full-time full-time job being a parent, trying to bring a child up in this wicked world and to overcome the world and the flesh and the devil and amount to something for God. And I hope that all of you do. Let me go to verse 4. If I seem a little tired tonight, it's because I am tired. I was in Jackson, Mississippi. I preached in Jackson, Mississippi last night. I preached in Union, Mississippi, Monday night and Tuesday night. I preached in Livonia on Sunday night. I preached here on Sunday morning, and then I studied profusely to teach this lesson tonight. And here I am tonight. So I've been a busy boy this week, and I've traveled probably 800 or 900 miles today, and I'm tired, but my mind's pretty alert for an old man. But I just say, if I had come out a little slow tonight, it's because I'm a little tired. But verse 4 says, the king by judgment established the land, but he that receiveth gifts overthroweth it. Again, the principle. There's a principle from Genesis to Revelation throughout the Word of God about being perfectly honest, of making righteous judgment. Every once in a while you get some scandal about a congressman who has taken a bribe from somebody to help put a bill through Congress to enhance his life, or maybe his state, or enhance his political power. He'll take a bribe, he'll take money, or if it isn't money, it's maybe a house full of furniture, or maybe a house on the lake, or something. They keep giving these things to these people, and when they do that, it sort of shuts their mouth. It makes them, stupefied. Bribes overthrow government. It's like going to the judge. If you have a worthy cause, you come to him, but the person that maybe you're taking to court or suing has already given the judge money. So now if you'll go in my favor on this judgment, here is $10,000. And if that judge takes that money, that judge is corrupt. He's corrupt because he has corrupted the case. It's not going to be just, it's going to be based on who gave him the most money, and that's wicked. It's really called bribery, and it's dishonest. There's no integrity to that. It's cheating, and it's crookedness. And somebody said that they were out at the cemetery, just passing through to go to a certain grave, and they saw this grave had an epitaph on it. So-and-so, he was a lawyer and a good man. And they said, I didn't know they buried two people in one grave. He was a lawyer and an honest man is what it was. So most of that, it's just kiddingly, but lawyers take a lot of foolishness because a lot of them, not all of them of course, but a lot of them will flim-flam and windjam the jury or the judge trying to help their client to win the suit, but nothing can be established, whether it's in the courtroom or in the county seat or in the Congress or in the church. You've got to be honest. There's no way you're going to work in the work of the Lord and not be honest. I'm not putting you down. I'm not in that kind of a mood tonight. But some of you already are practicing such shenanigans when you cheat in school. It's a start. It's a way to begin this kind of idea, well, I can get by. And that there's something about the human mind that will help you. That fleshly part of you will help you to constantly slick people and to get away with it. Some people go through all of their life just slicking people. They've got a wind jam and a flim-flam about them, and they've got a way that they can sneak around this and go around this and go around this, and their whole life is spent doing that sort of thing. And sometimes they're successful at it. That is financially and in worldly standards. But, it's appointed unto man once to die, and then the judgment. When you stand before the judge of the universe, there won't be no bribes, and there won't be any mama, there won't be any daddy, won't be anybody there to say, well, my boy's a good little boy, my girl's a good little girl. There won't be any of that foolishness. You'll have to stand there red-faced and embarrassed before himself and answer to God. So I just say, if you started to cheat, if any of you have a little tendency to be sticky-fingered and steal stuff, or crooked in any kind of dealings, I'd knock it in the head right now while you're young, or else you're going to fight that thing all of your life. Because I say the human mind, it just sort of learns very young to be able to get by. Now, mother and dad won't see this, and they won't see that, and I can get by if I don't do this today. I can do it tomorrow, and I can put it off. I can procrastinate. I don't have to get up right now. I should, but I can't. I'm too tired, and I don't feel good today. I got a bellyache and all kind of, ooh. And your whole life can be that way. I know people that are great big grown-up people. You couldn't trust them. They're flakes. They're flakes. They have no character. When you do something you don't want to do, that's when character comes in. That's character. You do it because you know it's right to do it. Whether you want to do it or not, you're going to do it right. And it's in your studies, it's in your life, it's a part of the makeup of your whole life. It's being honest and straightforward. But the heart is deceitful. And above all things, and desperately wicked. And who can know it? Jeremiah 17:9. Would you believe it, young people, that you've been a liar ever since you was a kid? This is what Psalms 58:3 says. The wicked are estranged from the womb. That is, they've separated themselves from God from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Speaking lies? They can't even talk yet. How they speak lies? I'll tell you what. They'll cry and cry and cry, make you think like they're in suffering, and they need, and they want to, they would pick them up. When they pick them up, stop crying. They're just feeling you out. They're working you over to see how far they can go. I've seen little kids, little twerps, just little people, in Myers and other stores, put on a tantrum because they can't get their own way when they don't even know, they haven't got enough brains to know how to get in and out of the rain, let alone know what they want. But if their mother and dad don't give it to them, they just cry. They're liars. They're crooks. They're sneakers. And you let that stuff go on as a parent, and you don't correct that when they're young, they're going to be bigger brats, and bigger brats, and bigger brats as they grow older. Am I telling it right?
Right.
So it's a matter of you having character enough to love your children, to train them up in the way that they should go. Our minds, your mind, my mind is crooked. It's deceitful. It's prone to leave God. It is carnal and filthy and corrupt and evil. Oh, Brother Gray, not me. You're not wearing a halo. I can't see one. I know what I'm talking about. You have corrupt, evil thoughts come into your heart. And, you have to, I'm going to show you something. You really have to work at That's a good man, that's a good young person. But you know what? They work at it. If you don't work at it, you won't have anything. You gotta work at it all the time. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do this. I don't wanna do this, but I'm gonna do it anyway, because I wanna be a good person. I wanna be a godly person. I wanna be a holy person. So you work. You have to work against yourself. It just doesn't come easy. You don't have to, loyal. You don't have to work at it to be ugly. You don't have to work at it to be mean. Nobody does. Nobody does. It just comes naturally. You can be as mean as a rattlesnake. And it just would come naturally to be that way. But if you're saved, your flesh is going to war against your spirit and have a time. It was your old flesh was there before the Spirit of God came in it. When the Spirit of God came, there's been a battle on ever since. The flesh wants you to be wicked. Paul said, I find a law. When I would do good, evil is present with me. Let me say it one more time. You can write it down if you'd like to. A good man or a good woman, you can say they've worked at that. They've worked at being honest. They've shunned being crooked. They're good people because they work at it. And, you know, young people, folks, the way of holiness is beautiful. And the way of the transgressor is hard. Good leaders, that's what you want to be, a good, godly leader. There be no bribes. There be no respecter of persons. There be no crooked deals. But you're going to establish your Christian life on judgment and justice and doing right. No favoritism. No partiality. No bribes, no payoffs. And just remember that the all-seeing eye of God doesn't miss one thing. So I would say shoot straight. People could put trust in you and confidence in you, in your leadership, because they know you're an honest person, a good godly person. That's leadership. And everything rises and falls in that leadership, and you have to make that leadership a part of your life. Verse 5. A man that flattereth his neighbor spreadeth a net for his feet. Talking about beware of the people that flatter you, for really they're trying to deceive you, to profit themselves, of course. I'm reading a little portion from Luke's Gospel, chapter 20, and verse 21, 22, 23. And they asked him, saying, Master, we know that thou art, that thou sayest and teachest is right. Neither accepteth thou the person of any, but teacheth the way of God truly. Now these Pharisees, scribes, they were flattering him. They didn't believe that at all. They didn't think he was a good man. They thought he was a deceiver. But they were flattering him. Listen what he said. Is it lawful for us to give tribute unto Caesar or no? Should we pay our taxes or no? But he perceived their craftiness and said unto them, Why tempt ye me? He said, Show me a coin. And they handed him a coin, and he said, whose image is in superscription is on this coin? They said, Caesar's. He said, Render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar, and unto God the things that are God. And he shut their mouth. But they were flattering him, and flattery is a kind of a form of a lie. It's deceit. It's really cheap and it's really hollow. But it comes from an evil heart. It's like when somebody's spreading a trap. fisherman who throws a net out. The fish don't realize that it's a net. And they swim into the net and then they're caught, eaten. A hunter will trap animals. He may put some good bait on that. Something that maybe that beaver or that mink or that raccoon or whatever he's trying to catch to sell the hides. He's feeding them something that smells good and they've drawn to it and their neck is caught in this trap. And that is what we're talking about, flattery. Here's a girl, the boy comes in. Well, boy, I guess I am pretty good looking. I've been waiting for somebody to pay attention to me. And the first thing you know, that's a trap. They don't realize it's a trap. Or they say, hey, cutie. And they knew, you knew it meant them, it meant you know, to do that. Or somebody drive by and honk the horn. You know, if you turn around and look at that car or that person, you're falling into their trap. That's what they wanted you to do. Hey, muscles, you know, some girl flirt with you or handsome or whatever you might say. It's a part of a trap. They're trying to slick you, and there are some girls that are pretty good slickers. They know how to slick men, but there are also some boys know how to slick girls. I had a man in this church years ago. He's dead now, thank God. He told me that he could go to bed with any woman in my church. He told me that. Told me that. He's a hot what woman. He's just slick. He's just slick as slick. And women would fall for him because he was good looking and suave and knew just how to flirt. They would yield. Women are made to yield. If women didn't yield, there would be no babies born in the world. Women have to yield in order to have children. And when women are flirted with, if you're not careful, you could just about slick any one of them. You say, well, not me. Shut your mouth. Better people than you have fallen, by far. And it's just a part of the ways of a snake on the grass or a snake on the rock, the Bible said, or a man with a maid. They just know how to maneuver themselves. And it's flattery. A lot of it's flattery. But people fall into traps. And their lives are messed up because of somebody that is slick. I tell the kids in school, little children, little boys and girls, to never take candy from anybody that's a stranger, because they may be giving you candy, but it's beyond that. There's an innerspring mattress underneath of it all, or come over to my house and have a cup of coffee, but there may be an innerspring mattress under that cup of coffee. Can you understand what I'm saying? It's a whole wicked world out there. And if you girls only knew how wicked men are, you'd be afraid of everybody. You would be. But I'm not going to meditate on that, but I just wanted you to say there are traps set all around as we go through life. Not only immoral traps, but liquor traps, dope traps, conniving, plotting, planning, scheming, stealing, all these things. You would say, well, there's a whole bunch of money right there, and nobody's looking. It's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap. It's a part of life. You'll just be going down through life from one day to the next with one trap here and one trap there, maybe 10 traps a day. And if you fall into it, well, there's a television. Well, I haven't seen television in a long time. Well, I didn't know what. Boy, and your eyes get full of that. You see things you never should see. So well, I didn't look like it was gonna be bad. No, he kinda led you up and got you interested and then shoved it right down your throat. That's what it is. So I say, Brother Green, you're an old, I know I have old, but I have got some pretty good sense. I know the traps and the tricks of the devil are all over. Verse 6 says, in the transgression of an evil man there is a snare, but the righteous doth sing and rejoice. He's talking about God's people being a happy people and a blessed people. But the wicked are ensnared, they keep falling into these traps of his own sins. But the righteous are always free from those traps, and they're rejoicing and singing. That's basically what he's saying. Like I said, that dope, that drink, that sex, that whatever else. I would hope that I couldn't say this because I don't know all of you, but you young people that are here, there are adults and young people here, but I hope you would never in your life ever go to a theater. If you don't ever go to a theater to watch a movie, you probably never will be infected by the corruption that's in Hollywood. Hollywood is getting smart. They're putting on now Christian movies. They made that Passion film, and they got a lot of Christians back to the theater that had stopped going to the theater. They got another one out Into the Spirits called, and but I would never go to the theater to see it. It's about those missionaries down in South America that were martyred. I could sure, but it's a slicky tricky to get you back to the movie. You'll find more and more of these movies coming along to get Christians back to the movie. Why wouldn't you go to the movie? You got one in your television, in your living room, you're watching all this stuff, and if you don't have it on that, you get the VCR movie, and you bring it into your house. Why don't I just go to the theater and see it? See, the devil's a sly old fox, and if I could catch him, I'd put him in a box, and I'd lock the door and throw away the key for all the tricks he's pulled on me. And he can pull them on you, and these little traps are set all around about you, and you fall into your own devices. And the Bible, Proverbs says, he that diggeth a pit shall fall into it. You break physical laws, and you get sick. You break financial laws, and you get in debt. You break spiritual laws, and you ensnare yourself and draw away from God. If you draw near to God, God will draw near to you. It's just sort of a reaping and a sowing what you reap. It's a constant life thing. Now, I know these lessons tonight may be just a little different, but I didn't write the Bible. God wrote this Bible, and he knew what he was talking about when he wrote it. And it kind of weaves a lot of things in here. Talks a little bit about being honest and about being flattered and crafty people who are trying to slick you. You know, if people, boys particularly, if boys you're traveling with begin to talk dirty, tell dirty jokes or suggestive things, break off friendship with them right now. Just don't deal with them anymore because they're wicked. And they're little. It'll ruin your Christianity. I'm going to hurry because I would like to, I got some more, I got things here, but I'm going to hurry a little bit here. I like to do more. These verses are so important to us. Verse 7, the righteous considereth the cause of the poor, but the wicked regardeth not to know it. That is, the wicked turn their head from it. But the righteous, saved people, spiritual people, they're concerned for others. They're careful to not offend others. They're conscious. Their eyes are open to needs of people around about. There's a constraint inside of that Christian, compelling by the Holy Ghost to help people and to be compassionate and have love on them and to consider those that are impoverished in some way or another. You know, I think that Christianity is the most beautiful, most wonderful thing. If there wasn't a heaven and if there wasn't a hell, the Christian life is the best life that you could ever live, because it brings out the very best of you. When you don't love God, you become callous and cold and covetous and greedy and have a closed mind and a closed heart and a closed hand, and you clamor after the things of the world. But when you're a Christian, it's a wonderful, wonderful life, because it has to do with being a kind, thoughtful, considerate, patient, long-suffering, sweet, kind person. Who wouldn't want to be a Christian? I don't know who wouldn't want to be one, but it's a wonderful life. Verse 8 says, scornful men bring a city into a snare, and wise men turn away wrath. You know, scoffers, people that are criticizers and fault finders and all that sort of stuff, they can tear up a city. They can tear up a church. They can tear up an organization, a place where you work, just always criticizing, scoffing, making fun of the bosses, making fun of the leadership, and pulling everything down. They can just about ruin everything. It's a part of the mechanism of the mind. You know, when Israel went into captivity first, and then Judah finally went into captivity to the Babylonians. But this is what 2 Chronicles 36:16. This is one of the verses that stuck in my head over these years. It says that, but they mocked the messengers of God. They despised his words. They misused the prophets until the wrath of the Lord arose against his people. And this is the word, till there was no remedy. You made fun of it, you criticized it, you tried to pull it down inside this church, inside your home, inside your place of employment, workplace. There are seeds of destruction that are already sown. They're there. And they will destroy that business. They'll destroy your home. They'll destroy your church. They'll destroy the city. They'll destroy our government. It's seeds. It's scoffers. It's people that are criticizers and fault finders, that are difficult to live with. They may not say much on the outside to you because they don't affect them, their job or their position or something. But underneath, I've got people in this church, and I know pretty well who they are, but they have little ways about little dirty digs. I don't agree with the pastor about that. Now, he's a good man, but. Sound like a billy goat, but. I like the pastor, boy, he's my friend, but I wouldn't say that if I was a pastor. You wouldn't say anything because you're not the pastor. And you wouldn't know how to pastor it if you did pastor it. But you know all there is to know about everything because you know it all. I'm not saying that you people, I'm saying those people on the camera. But I'm just saying inside of the works of this church, there are criticizers, bellyachers. I know who they are too. You say, oh no, not those. They're clever. They load this gun and let somebody else pull the trigger. That's the way they operate. They're smart. They're sneaky. If I told you who I was thinking about right now, oh no, not those people. But I know who they are. Like that old preacher said, that new broom would sweep clean, but the old preacher knows where the dirt is. That old broom knows where the dirt is. I know where the dirt is. I know the people in this church I could trust with my wife. There are some men in this church I wouldn't close the door on him and my wife. Wouldn't trust him. So what do you mean? You will? Why is that? We know he's too much for anybody. I know these people. And inside of your house, inside your home, there are destructive things. And there are seeds there of destruction. I learned that. I learned that when I first started having a Christian school. I went away to Texas to the home of the ACB, where they trained their workers. And that was a very strong thing, that inside the workings of the school is the seeds of destruction of that school. And you have to keep working and keeping them seeds from growing. Anyway, blessed are the peacemakers. People that put oil on the water. People that don't want trouble. But inside this room tonight, look at me, they're troublemakers. I have them in my own personal family. Whew. They just say something. Blurt it. They just blurt out. Yeah, go ahead. After you said all that, done all that, I've got to still be the dad. I still got to be the pastor. I still got to work on all these problems that you caused because you You said whatever you wanted to say. Yeah. I have to put up with that foolishness. You say, I wouldn't, pastor church, put up with a lot of stuff you wouldn't put up with otherwise, but you do. Because you're a Christian and you don't want to create a problem. So you love people in spite of what they say and what they do. But I'm telling you, you've got it. I would say in your home, you've always got somebody, whether it's a mother, dad, or sister, or brother, or somebody always trying to create a problem in your family. I'm talking about your spread out family, not maybe just your own little children. No, I'm talking about your family. They're troublemakers, wave makers. Let me just say this, it's in my head, so I'll say it. I think about a lot about people's marriages. You raise your children to live right, do right, but the people that these people marry will make the difference of the happiness of the life of that home. Because you did not raise your daughter-in-law or your son-in-law. You raised your family. But you have to put up with something that comes from another household that doesn't have the same standards or the same convictions. And you bring that in to your family. You can't do anything about it. It's there. It's a different old ballgame. That's why I say, you girls and you boys, when you marry somebody of your own church denomination. It'd be nice if you marry somebody from your own church with the same convictions, and their family and your family have the same convictions, and then you're not going to have a lot of trouble. But you say, well, she's so beautiful. My little boy, my grandson, Paul, called me just about an hour ago. He said, Dad, Grandpa, I want to tell you that I broke up with my girlfriend. They were really getting thick and heavy. Nice girl, beautiful girl. He said, I broke up with her. We decided it wasn't the Lord's will for us to go any farther. And he's 22, I don't know, 20 years old. He said, Grandpa, I don't even know. We both fell in love with each other, but we just know that it's not going to work out like we ought to, so we just ask God to help us. It's hard for a couple days. I want to tell you something. Getting married to the wrong woman is about as bad as getting married to the wrong man. You're going to have problems all of your life. Well, anyway, let me just go on to verse 9. I'm going to go till, what's his name comes. Tell me when he comes, okay? If a wise man contendeth with a foolish man, whether he rage or laugh, it is no rest. There is no rest. If a righteous man would contend with a fool, let me just say this. Please listen to me. No one has ever won an argument. Nobody. Nobody has ever won an argument. Suppose you won the argument, you put that other person down, you've lost your friend. It's gone. There, you say, well, what am I supposed to be, a milquetoast? No, I didn't say be a milquetoast. Contend for that which is right, but on the other hand, sort of ended up thing up with a love affair rather than a hate affair. And I may not agree with you, and you may not agree with me, but let's don't fight to be at fits with one another. Let's argue if you need to. Just try to straighten out something, but you're never going to do it. So I'm just saying, that person especially is talking about a lost man, a foolish man, and you're going to put him down. Now the Bible says, the Bible says, the Bible says, the Bible says. Go ahead, cram it down his throat. Get out of here. You think you're big shot Joe, New York City, but you aren't going to do it. You're not going to do it. You talk to him and you deal with him and you try to encourage him and you try to instruct him, but you don't get in arguments over the Bible with anybody. You don't do a bit of good. It doesn't do a bit of good. Or you want to argue about this or that or the other thing in your home or with your brother, your sister, your wife, your husband. Could you ever tell me one argument that ever did any good at your house? Doesn't do any good, does it? Just creates hardships and heartaches. Well, you say, Brother Green, well, I can't understand what you're saying. Surely you wouldn't be saying that I'm just to give in and give over and give up. And, no. Well, who am I talking to? Could you tell me who am I talking to? Who am I talking to? People that are leaders in Christianity. I'm not talking to my Sunday school class. I'm not preaching from my pulpit. I'm talking to you people. You don't argue with people. This is what Paul said. 2 Timothy 2:24. 2 Timothy 2:24. And the servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle unto all men and apt to teach. And you know a little bit about this. I'm going to show you a thing or two. We don't do that. Christian leaders don't do that. Well, I'm going to box your jaws and bloody your nose. Oh, no, you're not. Well, I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. Well, you go ahead. But you're the idiot, and you will be the idiot, and it'll come up as a stink in your own nostrils because you doubled up your fist. Christians don't double up their fist. Well, I'm telling you now, if you're going to be a leader, you're all through that stuff. He said, and the servants of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle. Jesus said, if they slap you on this cheek, turn that cheek. Well, I know, it sounds like a milquetoast. Sounds like somebody's a wimp. But you really, if you've got some good sense, you'll understand that our weapons are not carnal. This is what Paul said, 2 Corinthians 10:4. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. We're not a broiler. We're not putting on a brawl. We're not going to do that. Fighting is not a Christian way of doing things. That is physical fighting. I don't see anything contrary in the Bible of going to war and fighting against an enemy. I don't see anything against the thing if somebody's coming in your home to malign or cuss or damn or swear or drink or put on a rage or vandalism or break up your home or rape your wife or kill one of your children or rob you. There's nothing wrong with you saying, hey, listen, out. Get out of here. I'm going to work you over to the fare thee well. If I have to, I'll have to kill you. he had a man in his church that fell in love with his wife, fell in love with the preacher's wife. He's stupid enough to stand up in church and say, I've fallen in love with the preacher's wife. And of course, my pastor chased him right out of the church. And of course, he's put out while he was out of the church for, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years. And he called my pastor and he said, I want to come over and apologize and see if we can't straighten out. He said, don't come over here. He said, I dreamed that I killed you. That was a good thing to say, I tell you. He didn't come by, I'll tell you that. Not the pastor would have done it, but he said, I dreamed that I did. But I could say that there are some things, but it's not our position as Christian people to try to win an argument, prove your point, and you may prove your point to be true, but you lost the friends, and very seldom anything ever good comes out of an argument. Christians are not to strive, but to be peaceable and long-suffering and patient. And pray for ignorant people that would like to cause a lot of trouble to you. You're going to be a Christian, you're going to be a preacher, going to be a missionary, going to be a Christian worker. You don't see Brother Green going around starting fights. You don't do that. You don't even think about it. I wouldn't even hardly raise my voice at you. It's just a part of Christianity. I've really got to quit. I brought a lot of material, but I knew I would need to quit. But I'm going to quit this quarter after.
We're going to start tonight with Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 10. Time is really going by, and we're really going to get through, I think, we'll be able to finish all of this book this month. Hopefully not this month, but I mean this semester. It'll complete volumes of videos on this book of Proverbs. I haven't endeavored to make this an in-depth study so much. There is a lot of effort put into it on my part, but it's basically what we're trying to do is to bring out the character building part of Solomon's wisdom. And that's what we've been doing. If somebody watches these videotapes and seeks maybe to feel what I got in all of the Greek and Hebrew and everything else, that isn't the philosophy of my lessons at all, but I do trust that it'll help you. We're really a class, a special class for Christian workers to help you to prepare your life for Christian service. A lot of little things that the world never would know. Even other Christians in the church would never know. You're learning a little bit about the inside workings of the service part of our lives for Christ. And I've lived in the parsonage for 56 years of my married life, and my dad was a Baptist preacher, and I lived in the parsonage also before I was married. So I've been at it a long time, and something that could be said could bring a lot of difference to your understanding of spiritual things. Proverbs 29 and 10. The bloodthirsty hate the upright, but to just seek his soul. I've never really in my life ever met anybody, I guess, that was bloodthirsty, that was a murderer. But I have met a lot of people that hated Christians, hated the upright people, saved people. You know, it's a little twist here. Excuse me, the saved people love sinners. Sinners don't love saved people, usually because of their wickedness, and your life, dedicated life, sort of reprimands them without you saying anything. We don't really hate anybody. We may hate their sin, but we love sinners. We love their soul because we're Christians and we have a mandate from heaven to witness and to win souls. You take a good example is those first two brothers in the Bible, Cain and Abel, and it was said that, well, Cain hated his brother. It says in John 3, 1 John 3:12, because his own works were evil and his brothers righteous. There was a conflict of different sorts of philosophy. And he was holy, that is, Abel was holy and godly, and it provoked his brother to hatred. I know that all of us, as Christians, have no intentions of aggravating people. I don't anyway, maybe you do, but I have no interest in aggravating anybody. But there is that part of being a Christian, that all that live godly will suffer persecution. You say, well, I don't have any trouble. I don't get treated bad or persecuted. But maybe you're not living godly either. But you ought to have a concern for lost souls. And just take the foolishness. I was out with Brother Bob Napper today, and we were talking about this. Just it's unbelievable, the rough, gruff, slanderous maligning that a true Christian takes. People say things to you, try to cut you down, and you can't say a thing back. You just can't argue with them. You can't even defend yourself. For in doing so, you hurt the cause of Christ. So you just have to take it. When you live godly, it's a part of being a godly Christian, is take the guff that comes along with that. And sometimes it comes from people that you at least expect that would be mean to you. This is what Jesus said, John 15:18. If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If ye were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. If you can take it, you can be a great Christian. If you can't take it, you'll flop and fizzle and go belly up somewhere down the line, because you can't take it being a Christian. It's not an easy thing always. It's a right thing, of course, to be a Christian, but it's not always the easiest thing. We must understand this truth if you're going to be a Christian worker. You live godly, you're going to suffer persecution. But if you live ungodly as a Christian, you're going to ruin your testimony. You'll have no power on your life, and you'll have no influence upon the world. James 4:4 says, the friendship of the world is enmity with God. Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. We have to love sinners. We hate their sin, but we love them. Very hard for them. They misunderstand this. And they think that you and I think that we are better than they are, and that we're looking down on them because they're not Christians. You have to be careful about letting them feel that way. We're really, all of us are sinners. We're saved sinners and they're lost sinners, if you can understand that. But somehow maintain your testimony, even if they don't understand that. By love and by kindness and by righteousness, you win them to Christ. I'm really sincere what I'm saying. The world has got to see Christianity work. And if they don't see it work in you, it's very doubtful that they will ever become Christians through your leadership. I know that raising families, children, your children have to see Christ in your life. If they don't see it, they'll think Christianity is phony, baloney, if mother and dad don't live the life in front of them. So even the unsaved, though, they have to see your neighbors, people you work with. They got to see the difference in order for you to be able to really do what you should for them. The bloodthirsty hate the upright, but the just seek his soul. We're after them spiritually to win them to Christ. That's verse 10. And verse 11, a fool uttereth all of his mind, but a wise man keepeth it till afterward. We're talking about a fool. In the Bible, there are several kind of fools. One of a fool is somebody that maybe is demented. He hasn't got his elevator, doesn't go all the way to the top floor. He's sort of foolish. But there is also a fool who has no conception of God. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. That's another type of a fool. And then there are fools who are dense. They're like, you'd call them fatheads. They're just slow. They're not mentally deranged, but they're thick-headed. They can't conceive too much. A fool uttereth all of his mind. We're talking about somebody that doesn't really realize that all this motor mouth, this wall-to-wall mouth, is not what is accepted amongst people. If you are a person who talks all the time, you're really a person that doesn't really have it all together. Most generally, people who talk all the time are talking so people won't ask them questions. They don't want to get in a corner, so they do all the talking so they can stay in a safe place. But don't be a person who has an unusual talkative spirit. I feel sorry for you. Somebody has not got you on a good, solid basis. You're kind of like a blabbermouth. You're a babbling idiot. You just tell everything you know. A fool uttereth all of his mind. He just doesn't reserve anything for any particular time or season. He just tells everything he knows. But you don't have to tell everything you know. Even if it's the truth, you don't have to tell it. It'd probably in some cases be better if you didn't say anything. But you know people like that, just talk. But a person who is wise, he says, but a wise man keepeth it till afterwards. If I could just say it in Christian love, shut up. Just shut up. Let somebody else do the talking and you do the listening. You don't have to tell everything you know. You don't have to run your mouth wide open all of the time. People would really think you're smart if you'd shut up. But when you open your mouth, they know you're a fool. It doesn't take long to figure you out because you're blabbing everything that you know. Wise men will hear what other people have got to say. And an amazing idea of the whole thing is God in His wisdom gave us just one mouth. We have 2 eyes and 2 ears, 2 nostrils. Well, we only got one mouth, thank God. If somebody had 2 of them, I don't know where you'd be out and drive you crazy. But you could see twice as much and hear twice as much, smell twice as much as you talk. Just shut up, just don't be such a blabbermouth. I don't know, every family has got people like that. They just talkative. And I trust that somehow in this character building studies that you learn how, I don't know if you can control it or not, but if you could just shut up, it would be a great blessing to you in your Christian life. Proverbs 19:10, in the multitude of words there wanteth not sin, but he that refraineth his lips is wise. Just don't talk all the time. Can you control yourself? Are you going to learn from our class character? Charactered people are not blabbermouths. They don't do that. They listen. A wise man, he said, in our text, will listen and not talk all the time. Now, do you know somebody that talks all the time? You can sense, you wonder about their intelligence. Some people talk pretty intelligently, but the Word of God teaches us as Christians, wait for your turn, wait till afterward, and then put your 2 cents in, but don't be blabbering your mouth. The next verse says, Proverbs 29 and 12, if a ruler hearkens to lies, all his servants are wicked. Again, the same conception. We're talking about a ruler, talking about a king. I suppose Solomon talking to his boy, maybe Rehoboam, and saying, if you listen to lies, and you gather around you people that are liars, all of your servants will be just like you. If you're a liar, they're going to be a liar. Like poles attract. Whatever you are, it's pretty well, you just tell me who your friends are. Are you listening? You tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. If you hang around foul mouth, screwball, nincompoops, blabbermouths, liars, vulgar, dirty talking, cussing, damning, swearing, lying, cheating. If you like that kind of atmosphere and those kind of people, you are like them, because that's what you have assembled yourself with. Like he's saying, like king, like the people. Like the ruler, like the people. Like the leader, will be like the people. You'll gather around people just about like you. And there's a great saying. I don't know if Dr. Lee Robinson was the one who coined this phrase, but it's a good phrase. Everything rises and falls in leadership. Everything rises. Every organization, your home, your life, your Sunday school, your bus route, whatever it is, everything rises in the right kind of leadership. And when it's not the right kind, it'll fall. Those are famous words, but they are truthful words. If you hang around evil people, if you like them, you like that kind of folks, whatever you practice is what those people around you are going to practice. I would like to preach a little bit right here, but I'll not do it. But it is so important that as a leader, you're upright, and that you pick and choose those who serve under you that are of your same stripe. I could say that if the root is corrupt, so will the tree be corrupt. And if you're corrupt inside your mind, look at me, you could just look at me just a minute. If you could understand this, I'll speak to these boys, these men. If your mind is corrupt, if you have dirty, filthy thoughts in your heart most of the time, you are a corrupt person. And you'll be hanging around people who are corrupt, just like you. But it's such a blessing if you could rise in your life. Very few people ever do. They usually stay on the same level that they were born with and raised with. But there are people who've got mentality enough to break away from people that are corrupt and always travel with somebody a little better than you, so that they will pick you up. Never hang around those that are less than you. So that's discrimination. It is not discrimination. It's wisdom. You don't want to hang with folks that are corrupt. You know, evil, listen to me, evil is imitated. I see you do this, and I like what you did, so I do that. It's wrong, but I'm doing it because I like what I saw. It's imitated. Evil is imitated. And I suppose righteousness could be imitated too. And godliness and holiness could be imitated by hanging with this right kind of people. But Solomon is saying to his son, like king, like people, like leader, like the people. Let me make another statement. The Judges, there's a book in the Bible called the Judges. And it comes just before the Kings. But it's been well said that those judges was somehow or other reflected the spirit of the day in which they lived. They lived in a day when every man did that which was right in his own eyes. Am I telling the truth? Okay. So these judges, let's take Solomon, let's take Samson. He was a judge, but he was immoral. You take the judges of our day. Not all of them, some of them are very good, godly people. But most of them sympathetic with the homosexuals. There are judges sympathetic with pornography, sympathetic with adultery and abortion, and humanism, and against capital punishment. Judges, they sort of reflect the time that we live in right now. And the judges of the Old Testament, they reflected their time too. Here was some of those judges and some of those kings. One would do evil in the sight of the Lord, the other would do right in the sight of the Lord. Most of them did evil. And they'd set up these groves, put trees and little groves, but mostly so that they could worship behind the leaves of those trees in idolatry. Then they'd go up to the high places, maybe to the mountains, and have places, special places for their worship of the Lady of Heaven, or dumb stuff, pure dumb stuff. When God told them to worship in the temple and have one altar, one sacrifice, one place, they always wanted something else. And you'd see some man come in and clean up the whole mess, and maybe his son come up and tear it all down again, put it back where it was. So you are what you are. You are going to set an example like Josiah, or like Hezekiah, or like Uzziah, or like King David over King Saul, or you're going to be like Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, caused Israel to sin. The whole kit and caboodle of the whole thing. Honest, I love the Bible. I read it faithfully daily. But I get